Breeze, the big 4-0 today, January 15th. And of course, he doesn't have his birthday off, I would presume, Coach. You know, you've gotten ready for these games. He's got a championship game coming up on Sunday. So my guess is he'll have time for cake.
Yes.
You know, after it's all said and done with his family. But we have cake because we're going to talk about what might be a piece of cake. See? See what we did there?
I like that.
Okay. So listen, in honor of Drew Brees' birthday, let's talk about what might happen in this game. Piece of cake, 3 touchdowns. Yes,
three touchdown passes?
3 touchdown passes for Drew Brees.
Sorry, Drew, that is not a piece of cake.
Not a piece of cake.
I mean, think about it. Last time, you know, Marcus Peters was basically, overmatched by Michael Thomas. To keep Talib back in the lineup, that pass rush, I'm not sure 3 touchdown passes are a piece of cake for even Drew Brees.
All right, if it is a piece of cake, I feel like we should cut one.
You do?
We should serve it. But I don't know. I don't want to do it.
I mean, I was going to wait until it's actually a piece of cake.
Dan has volunteered.
Okay.
Cut the cake?
Yeah, to cut the cake.
I'll cut the cake.
All right, so here we go then. Coach, keeping Aaron Donald sackless. Is sackless a word?
It is now.
It is now.
It is
Without
now.
a sack.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Without a sack.
It has the same birthday as Drew.
Is that a piece of cake?
I'm going to say that's a piece of cake. I think Sean Payton, all right, and their offense are going to do everything they can to run the ball, play action pass.
Piece of cake.
With being imperative that they protect Drew Brees. So I think there's a lot of meetings going on about them as far as what kind of protection they use to slow that down. He did not have a sack in their last meeting, and I think the style of the game last week, it was a 20-14 game. I look it to be a little bit of more of a low-scoring affair this time around.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Because that seems like a whole order. How about Michael Thomas? Let's go with 10 catches.
10 catches
10
for
catches,
Michael Thomas?
piece of cake or no?
Piece of cake.
See,
Michael
look at Dan.
Thomas
Gonna serve
he
it
had 12
up.
catches
Well,
the
that is a
last
piece of
time.
cake. All right.
I think it's a piece of cake for Michael Thomas. Like Sean Payton,
10 catches.
I like the matchup with Peters. I think Peters is prone to the big play, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of other places where Drew Brees is going to go with the game on the line than Michael Thomas.
That was good.
It's a big piece of cake. I think maybe we can share it. Maybe
that's good.
Yeah, maybe Drew will come and have some cake with us. They didn't put out forks. So that might be what they're trying to
eat with your hands, Dan.
Michael Thomas had 7 games this year with 10 or more catches. He's Brees' go-to guy. I think he gets his 10 catches.
All right, how about Alvin Kamara? Let's say 100 scrimmage yards, 10 piece of cake.
100 yards for scrimmage?
Yeah.
Not only am I going to cut a piece of cake,
too.
I'm going to get some forks, too. Come on, Dan, I'm going to serve you yours there. Here we go.
Okay.
Listen, that's a piece of cake. 100 scrimmage yards. We know they're going to run the football. It actually smells pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That's for Wendy? Yeah, hand that to Wendy. Okay, let me get that for her.
Well, you were talking about
Kamara.
We know they want to be involved in the screen game, matchups for him. I think with a keep Talib back, wait a second, there's 2 pieces of cake, and she took mine. I'm having another one.
I'm having a bite.
Coach, you want some cake?
Coach, you're a frosting guy. I can help you with the frosting, too.
Talking football.
So I might have to talk next.
So I think, piece of cake, Alvin Kamara. What do you say, Wendy? You got a re-tee?
It's very good.
Do you? Okay. There you go, Coach.
I like Drew Brees' birthday. I wish he had one more often.
Yep, here we go. I'm serving up.
Keeping the Rams under 100 yards rushing.
That is no piece of cake.
No, well, I already got mine, so I'm fine
now
with
you got the C.J. Anderson machine cranking up.
Really healthy.
Plus, Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle for the Saints, tore his Achilles on Sunday. Obviously won't play. That affects the run defense. It's no laughing matter, guys.
No, but the cake is good.
Saints run defense is going to be affected against the team that had 273 rushing yards last week, and all these guys care about is cake.
All right, Coach, I got one for you. Saints offense scoring 30 points. Piece of cake or no?
I'm going to say not a piece of cake, and I'm not digging in yet, but I'm digging in pretty soon. I think, they came out of the blocks a little slow last week. I think it was because they had 2 weeks off, actually, and they didn't score as many points. But I think this game's going to be 28-25, that kind of range. I don't look for it to get over 30. So I'm going to say not a piece of cake as I bite into my piece of cake.
This is good cake.
All right, I try to make a habit of not asking Tim Hasselbeck for advice.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's one of my life
goals.
But having said that, any advice for Drew Brees?
Yeah, my brother had a birthday on Monday Night Countdown last year, and the guys were really nice. They presented him with a cake, and I think he thought like, hey, it was going to get stuffed in his face. But what's it called? Fondant? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
So it's like a hard cake, but to make matters worse, he doesn't even break it. Look at that.
Oh, no.
He was in the concussion protocol after that. And then also, like to hold it it together because it was a stacked cake. He ended up slicing his nose. Worse than the Ryan Clark jib injury from NFL
and then there
Live.
was the Teddy Bruschi bingo, quarterback bingo.
Teddy Bruschi cut his finger. Worse than all of that. So, Drew, whatever you do on your birthday, they need you healthy this weekend. Don't do that.
Do not smash your face.
And they told me Matt was a smart one in the family.
That's also not true. That's also not true.
All right, the party
give me this cake back.
Hold your cake. It would not be a party without welcoming in ESPN Saints reporter Mike Triplett, who covered Drew Brees since he arrived in New Orleans in 2006. And Mike, to commemorate his 40th birthday, which is today, that's why we got cake, you wrote a story on ESPN.com about some of the untold stories, a lot of them, of course, centering on how competitive Drew Brees is. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, well, that's a tough call, but I think my favorite was Zach Street telling the story of Drew Brees, the ping pong player, and you had to hear the way Streep told it because he turned this into an epic. You know, he said he beats Drew in this game of ping pong, and Drew is totally lost, and he has an answer for everything. He follows him to his locker afterward and says, "Oh, sorry, Drew, maybe I could use a different paddle next time." He said Brees didn't get that mad, but he could just tell he was kind of silently steaming. And he said a week later, Brees beats him into the locker room. He walks in, and Brees is already at the table, and he says, "Let's go." And he said he's a different ping pong player. He said he had an answer for everything, all kinds of shots he didn't have before. And he found out nobody had played Brees that week, so he is confident that he spent that week either going to some sort of a ping pong trainer or coming in early and playing by himself or studying YouTube videos. But he found a way to beat Streif and make up for that.
Ping pong school. You know who hasn't done that? Listen, anything surprise you as you compiled all of these stories?
There were a couple where he didn't succeed. Most of them are the tales of his success, whether it's pickleball or horseshoes or golf or you name it, jump roping. Steve Gleason told a great story. There are a couple where Brees failed. One was as a stunt bartender, another story that Streif told, and one of my favorites was his two college roommates and close friends talked about the time they were on vacation, and this kid came up to them while they're playing by the pool, and he said, "My dad says you're Drew Brees, but I don't believe him." And he hands him this football to throw, and Brees throws it, and it's a total duck because the ball was kind of out of air. And the kid yells to his dad, "See, Dad, I told you that wasn't Drew Brees." And so his friends use that line on him constantly after that.
Fantastic. Mike, thank you so much. Certainly an extraordinary career. We're going to take a break for just a minute, if you will. Let's look at some of the top plays since he's 40. Top Drew Brees plays of 40 yards or more. Number 10. 04. Brees was a charger. Play action deep to Eric Parker, who breaks a tackle for the 79-yard touchdown. How about that?
I had no recollection of Eric
I
Parker.
remember all these guys. You don't remember.
No, I don't know who Eric
I was
Parker.
thinking it was going to be Tim
Dan
Dwight.
wasn't born yet. Oh, wait. Yes, he was.
Easy.
Number 9, 2006, Saints and Panthers. 2nd and 20 from their own 14. Brees finds Marcus Colston downfield.
I remember him.
That was my pass coverage right there.
Yeah,
That was good.
Coach, what was going
Well
on there?
done.
Yeah,
Can we work on
when
that?
you drew up there,
We're going to
Coach.
drop 8.
Drop eight. You got past all
Guys,
8.
that's not supposed to happen in drop 8.
No.
Number 8.
You again?
Oh, wait a second.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Coach. Brees drops back, launches one to Ted Ginn in the end zone.
That's pretty good.
That was right at 40 yards. It barely made the cut.
I wasn't there for this one.
No, that
Okay,
wasn't
good.
your fault.
Yeah.
That
And
wasn't.
in fairness
Oh,
to the
that's
coach
right.
that called that,
2007.
it actually wasn't terrible coverage.
Yeah.
2014 Packers facing the Saints. Brees steps up, places the ball perfectly for Brandon Cooks. 50-yard touchdown.
Double coverage again. He's not scared.
This just in, he's accurate, huh?
He is
Accurate and
Yeah,
accurate
turns out
with,
he is.
for a guy who doesn't have a big, strong arm. Accurate on balls down the field.
That's perfect.
No doubt.
Wow. All right, number 6, Bengals v. Saints. Brees, the handoff. My favorite.
Oh,
the flea
flea
flicker
flicker.
to Joe Horn. Shuts
Triple
off
coverage.
2 defenders for a 72-yard touchdown.
Anybody ever get open on the Saints? Oh my goodness.
That is worth it.
We had
right
anything
there.
Brees doing that?
No.
back
Maybe
to the
today
Chargers.
on number
Go
40.
with
A snowy day in 04. Brees again with the Chargers. This time he finds Antonio Gates at the far sideline, who scores easily.
He was open.
72 yards. So that's plus 40.
Snow Angel.
What in the world is going to be number 1? Because these are great.
Still playing.
Yeah, well,
Weird.
true.
Maybe it's
What?
Sunday.
That's
Maybe
crazy.
his number 1 Sunday against the Rams.
Number 4. 2013 Bills and Saints, 3rd and 20. Breeze escapes pressure, throws on the run to Kenny Stills in the end zone, and he hangs on to this one.
Another one where the guy's not really open.
The trust he has in these guys.
Got this?
Unbelievable.
Number 3 in the top 40-yard plays from 40-year-old Drew Brees. Brandon Cooks takes it to the house. By the way, that is the longest play of Drew Brees' career.
Oh, my
gentlemen.
goodness. That's the Secretariat in the Belmont here.
He just stopped chasing him. Like, correct.
Get it to that guy.
All right, number 2. 2006 NFC Championship game with his team facing the Bears. Breeze to Reggie Bush, who across the field flips himself into the end zone.
Wow.
Bad conditions.
Reggie was fast too, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
He right on in. Oh,
and there we go.
You know what? Why run it in when you can flip?
Cake for everyone.
That's right, and he dances as well. We're all dancing on the occasion of Drew Brees' 40th birthday. The number 1 Drew Brees play of 40-plus yards, Week 5.
Record breaker.
Oh, yeah.
I knew this. Yeah, I guess I could have figured that out. Had I given it thought.
Yeah, that was good.
Congratulations, Drew Brees.
Congratulations.
And, of course, happy birthday. Also, congratulations to Greg Williams. How about this in what can only be called a quiet, calm Jets coach's facility? Coach, wow. According to our Adam Schefter, the Jets finalizing a deal with former Browns interim head coach Greg Williams. He will become their DC. He was the defensive coordinator the Jets were targeting no matter who their head coach was. We now know their head coach is, in fact, Adam Gase, who was introduced yesterday in somewhat dramatic fashion. They got their guy. Look, he's a good defensive coordinator. There's no question. There's a lot of combustible personalities there, but...
Yeah, I think he's proven himself. He's got pelts on the wall in this league. I think Greg's an outstanding coach. He helped big time Sean Payton get his first Super Bowl trophy when he was with the Saints. So Greg's an accomplished guy. I thought he did a good job as interim coach. I think it's a good hire.
I would agree with you on all of that. I think he's a very good defensive coach. I think the interesting thing about Adam's tweet regarding that news was that he was going to be the defensive coordinator no matter who the head coach was, which... obviously it'll be important for the head coach and the guy who's working for him, the defensive coordinator, for those guys to get along.
In a situation like that, Coach, because you've been through the hiring process, were you ever in a situation where they've said, hey, you're our guy, but just so you know, it's a package deal. We already know who we want on either side of the football.
I've always been one to believe that if you're going to be given the responsibility, you need to have the authority. And so you're seeing a little bit more of that. You heard a little bit of mention of that even when they were interviewing McCarthy. I'm not a real fan of that, a little bit like Bill Parcells. I think if you're going to cook the meal, you'd like to shop for the groceries.
Yep, Robert Kraft has always preached that. I will give them the responsibility, then I will hold them accountable.
One thing on Greg Williams, reputation is one thing, but he had the mission in Cleveland of calming everything down.
Yep.
He did a very good job of that.
Yeah.
I think he deserves that kind of credit.
Yeah.
All right, hats off, and we've got a few. Again, happy birthday, Drew Brees, and we've also got cake. The Chargers and Cowboys both lost over the weekend. What does that mean for the future of these two teams, including the future of Phillip Rivers? We'll talk about that. Rolling past the Ravens, a different story altogether for Phillip Rivers and company, who basically looked lost from the get-go on a 41-28 loss to the Patriots that really wasn't even that close and spelled the end of their season. It also means one less time that Phillip Rivers can continue on, win a Super Bowl. He has yet to do that. One of these elite quarterbacks that hasn't gotten there yet. So panic or patience here on the window for Phillip Rivers to win a Super Bowl.
I'm going to panic, and not because the Chargers don't have a good team. I think they do. They've got a really talented roster, a lot of young players, guys that are going to be good for the next, who knows, maybe 6 years or so. But I'm not sure how much longer Phillip Rivers is going to be able to keep playing at this level. I mean, let's just be honest. Same draft class as Eli Manning. I think people feel like Eli's time as a starter may be up. You look at Ben Roethlisberger. It's been a while since he's been back to a Super Bowl. And so I think when you just look at it, I think it's based solely on the fact of kind of Phillip's age, and then that the team still seems far enough apart from a team like New England when you go see a win or a loss like they had in the game against New England, that to me, unfortunately, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm with you on the panic. he's 37, and we see, obviously with the cake, that you can play 3 or 4 more years. I'm not as worried about that, but 3 or 4 more years is not a lot of time. And, this Charger team was 12-4, had a better record than the Patriots, was 9-0 outside of Los Angeles. Went into Foxborough, looked like they didn't belong on the same field.
It just didn't make sense.
And I think what that tells you is, there are a lot of obstacles in Phillip Rivers' path to a Super Bowl that aren't likely to clear anytime soon. We all know Tom Brady's going to play until he's 85. We all know that the team that won the division had the same record but won the division against the Chargers this year has a 23-year-old guy that just threw 50 touchdown passes, probably going to be MVP. Anywhere. They're probably going to stay good. So there's a lot in the Chargers' way, and that would concern me if I'm thinking, this year's Charger team was excellent, and it's entirely possible that it's better than any team he has yet to come. So I agree with you that they have a chance to stay good, but you know how it goes with injuries year to year. Not every year is the same. To not cash this in was very disappointing.
A lot has to go right. And, you can't evaluate this in a vacuum. You can't just look at the Chargers. To your point, you have to look at what's going on in Kansas City. You have to look at the fact that Tom Brady doesn't seem to be slowing down. So Rivers does have the most touchdown passes, passing yards, and wins by any quarterback never to start, not win, but to start in a Super Bowl. How about this guy? Speaking of young with potential, Kyler Murray declared for the draft. When we come back, Todd McShay weighs in on what the future holds for the Heisman Trophy winner. Fell over Major League Baseball by declaring for the draft. He still has a contract with the Oakland A's that includes over a $4.5 million signing bonus. At the very least, though, right now he has options. Just an amazing year for Murray. He won the Heisman Trophy, finished with the highest QBR in the FBS, and averaged 11.6 yards per attempt. That set an FBS single-season record. He was taken 9th overall in last year's Major League Baseball draft. No player has ever been drafted in the first round in both the NFL and MLB drafts. Here's Todd McShay on what's next.
With Kyler Murray, everyone's going to talk about the height. Is he 5'9"? Is he 5'8"? Has anyone ever been this successful at the quarterback position because of that size? But to me, the bigger concern is going to be with Major League Baseball. Is he committed to playing in the NFL? And NFL teams are going to look at that risk. But if he's committed, and you can figure that out before the draft process, I think he's a first-round pick because he's able to extend plays. He's got a big-time arm. He's accurate. He processes quickly, and he fits today's NFL. I think that's the whole thing. Things are different now than they were 10 years ago. We're not looking for 6'5", statue in the pocket. We're looking for a quarterback who can extend plays. So to me, Kyler Murray, probably the second quarterback off the board, if committed to the NFL.
Well, if, of course, the operative word there. And I only ask this, Coach, because everybody's talking about it and will continue to talk about it. I mean, we talked about Josh Rosen's commitment, my goodness, and he liked to play, what, tennis? So does it concern you?
And go sailing.
Well, and go sailing. So whatever. But anyway, does it concern you that he plays 2 sports?
I think you got to dig in a little bit, but not really. He's not the first player to ever come out, as far as being able to play both sports. You look at Patrick Mahomes right now. I mean, he can turn around and decide he wants to go back and play baseball, but I doubt that happens. I think Kyler Murray is an outstanding prospect. I don't think the height is as big a deal as it used to be. You look at, Drew Brees and Russell Wilson getting drafted in the 3rd round. Baker Mayfield last year is the first player taken in the draft. So I think times have changed and what people are looking for in quarterbacks.
Well, you know what's hilarious about that Mahomes situation? They said he thought baseball came too easy, so he wanted to play football because it was a challenge. I mean, my goodness, doesn't look that hard. Tim, I know you're a sailor, but in the meantime, does the height issue?
Drew Brees can play ping pong. We learned about that.
Right. And you can sail. So does the height of this young quarterback concern you at all?
I think it is something that people are going to have to get over. And to Coach's point, I think it was something that people in the past were not willing to get over. I think nowadays they're willing to get over it. But if you're going to be under 6 feet tall and be a quarterback that gets drafted in the 1st round, there has to be other qualities that are off the charts that make that not as big of a deal. And you heard Todd talking about him. In terms of arm strength, you can just see when you watch it there, the way that the ball zips off his hands. Most guys that are 5'9", you're not a long levered guy in terms of your arms that cannot throw it like that. Most smaller guys can't. He looks like he can. It's obviously why he's a very good baseball prospect as well. And then the running ability is also kind of, is an outlying quality. So because of that, And then you just look at recent history, and this is what I mean about it being changed. You mentioned Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Johnny Manziel, guys that weren't the 6'5" statue in the pocket, as Todd described them, much different players. And I think that teams are okay drafting that type of player now.
I mean, Baker Mayfield is Shaquille O'Neal compared to this guy. And I mean, we're talking about maybe 5'8".
Said no one ever.
And as much as I would love to see a dude who's shorter than I am succeed as an NFL quarterback, I think it's the big question teams are going to be asking going into this. You call around, you ask teams. A lot of people say we haven't dug in on it yet, but very intriguing guy because of the arm strength, because of the speed, because he played at a high level in college. But they're going to want to know about the height. And I think, you put it extremely well, Tim, no surprise, that you want to be convinced that he is sensational in other areas, in a way to overcome that. And if they had found that out about Russell Wilson, he would have gone first round instead of third.
Right, no question. And this will be all the talk leading up to the draft. He's now, of course, declared for the draft. He's listed at 5'10". I think that's optimistic, but regardless, he's under 6 feet. And since the common draft era began, only 2 quarterbacks listed as 6 feet or under have been drafted in the first round. I think that's sort of the benchmark, that 6 feet mark. Michael Vick taken first overall in Atlanta, and then the aforementioned Johnny Manziel drafted by the Browns 22nd overall in 2014. Both, by the way, of those quarterbacks listed at exactly 6 feet. What do you get a guy who has everything? I mean, we've celebrated, we've had cake, and now we have to do something else for Drew Brees. One final message coming up.